All right, welcome to the first episode of the Square State Sandlot Podcast. I've got joining me today just John. Kyle's putzing around doing the whole Pittsburgh experience. He wasn't able to join us. Times weren't going to line up, so he's currently in PNC Park watching the Pittsburgh Pirates play. Very jealous of that. I know you said you're not, but
Yeah,
I'm
super
pumped for
jealous.
him. And then he'll be heading off to Pittsburgh Steelers training camp or whatever they're doing tomorrow to get a little sneak peek at what they've got going on in their camp. So he's definitely enjoying his vacation. Like I said, I'm a little bit jealous of him. With him being out, we'll probably skip the MLB trade deadline stuff, and him and I'll do a special on that probably later this week. But John, I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce yourself since we hopefully will be bringing everyone over from the last podcast we were doing, which was the Cross the Pond with Bill and John. But for those of them that are new to this one, let's do a little introduction from you, and then I'll give one myself.
Yeah, I'm just John, I guess. I like sports. I like to party. No, moved over to England and trying to do a podcast with my best friend Bill. Talk about sports because I can't talk about them with anybody else over here. So have a good time talking English stuff. But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know,
you're
not
gonna
that
have to
great.
really pick up the golf and soccer a little bit more. But yeah, and I think the other thing you probably didn't touch on is you're a huge fan of Packers, Wyoming, um,
Just an NBA fan.
NBA fan in
Uh,
general.
yeah, sports are really just great to watch. I mean, not a huge MLB fan or hockey, I guess, but still enjoy them. Still like to join in on the conversation regardless. So it's just nice to be around people who actually can hold a conversation, I guess,
Yeah,
with me.
and that's gonna probably be a little bit harder for you to do over in England. So hopefully you'll be charged up and ready to go every week we record, and we'll get to
Yeah.
get some of that insight from you. I don't know how difficult it's going to be for you to keep up with the stuff while you're living over there. I assume you could probably watch most of the sports.
It's kind of up and down. I can get a lot of access to it, but it's kind of like specialized. I got to pay, prescriptions to get NBA full court or league pass, whatever you want to call it. And then the NFL tickets kind of the same way. You just got to pay per view kind of thing, but it'll get done. Love
Yeah,
it too much not to. So
well, and I'm sure timing is not the best because of your time difference and when those events actually happen. But I'm sure you'll stay caught up on it, and as we move closer to football season, that typically is the one that everyone likes to talk about the most. So we'll definitely keep up
yeah,
with that and see how your Packers are doing. But let me give my introduction, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your Packers because there's tons to talk about. So for those of you listening, I'm Bill Montoya. John and I are childhood friends, growing up in Wyoming. Same with Kyle. We've just kind of been good friends for the majority of our lives. Worked with Kyle at my first job, and John and I played baseball together. Hung out a lot in summers and all that fun stuff. Went to the same church and all that. So we've been around each other quite a bit since I moved to Wyoming. Um, and that's what the name of the podcast comes from. Square State Sandlot. It's basically how we all know each other, and then incorporating sports. So, a little bit about me: I'm got 3 kids, a lovely wife. Just love sports, love video games, love all kinds of stuff that we like to talk about on here. So, um, definitely love Wyoming. Just went back there for vacation. Um, but yeah, I think that's probably enough about me. And if you guys have any questions,
beautiful.
we actually did launch 4 different pages. We have an Instagram page, a Twitter page, Facebook, and YouTube. We'll be posting a lot of our content on all of those pages. So um, I think all of them except for Facebook are at SSSPod21 for the handle. Um, Twitter might, or sorry, not Twitter. YouTube might be a little bit different. You probably just have to look us up by the name Square State Podcast or Square State Sandlot Podcast and catch us there. So we'll be posting a lot of this stuff. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and you'll get notified whenever we post anything. So excited to launch that. And without further ado,
Whoop, whoop.
we talked a little bit about, so I think I had mentioned Across the Pond with Bill and John. That was our old one. Now we got Kyle on board. So on the last episode, we talked about Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams and Za'Darius Smith. Is it Za'Darius?
Za'Darius Smith.
Yeah, I always mess that up. So anyway, we talked about that, all that stuff going on with the Packers, and since then we've had some sort of resolution. So I'm going to get your take on all things Packers right now.
It has been a wild ride since the draft, since everybody's like been coming out like, oh, Rodgers wants out. He is not, I don't know why people like call him a diva, because I hate that. I don't think he's really a diva. He just doesn't really have a whole lot to say. So people got to make up what he's saying. And I kind of believe that's what happened this summer. Because basically what happened, what I said was going to happen happened. I didn't think he was going to leave. He didn't want to get pushed out. He didn't want to get traded. He didn't want more money. All of that. He's basically just saying he wants more respect from the team. And that's really where it's been lacking. And I think that's what's happened with Davante Adams as well. He doesn't feel as respected as he should. And the organization is doing an extremely poor job just keeping in basic contact with their players. And I don't understand what the reason is. But it's like, you know, Aaron Rodgers came out that last week, or I think it was last Monday, the start of OTAs, came out and just went for like 30 minutes on just what's happening, exactly what's going on. They came out with a new contract for him to sign. Basically didn't give him any more money, didn't do anything, just kind of stipulated concessions in his contract.
Well, and basically what it did was it gives him an out after this season.
Yeah.
And then it also, they didn't really say this in the contract, so to speak, but basically said that he would have input on anything that pertains to him being able to do his job. So I'm assuming that's going to be offensive line and wide receivers. Maybe a little bit of running back input as well. And I think that was a misconception why everyone was calling him a diva, is because they were making it seem like he wanted total control of the roster, and that's not at all what he wanted. He wanted some input on who he's throwing the ball to and who's protecting him. And that's about it. So I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense from the organization side. Like, what he did say is, you know, Green Bay's not a huge vacation destination. Like, people aren't coming to Green Bay for the town. He's basically coming to play with me.
Yeah.
And that's a huge key factor in to like free agent signings or retaining people, whatever. And that's what he was saying is, you know, why wouldn't you use me for this? I have no say whatsoever into helping anybody. I've never been asked to try and help recruit. Well, and he's got a good point.
Oh, for sure. And he really just, like, a lot of times people will sugarcoat things and just say, you know, what happens between me and the team, that's between me and the team. No, he did not do any of that. He just basically said, this is what happened. This is why I was pissed off. Like, you know, when I said I wasn't going to report, they threw more money at me when the whole time I said it wasn't about money. I wanted some respect and some say over how I do my job essentially. So yeah, he was not sugarcoating it at all. He basically just blasted the organization and said, I love the fans, I love Green Bay, but the organization is what's driving me away from it. And then he said, what was the guy's name that they cut? Kumaro, right?
Yeah, Jake Kumaro.
Yeah, so they said he was the second best, or he said that he was the second best wide receiver in camp, and then the day after he says all these good things about him, they cut him. And you've already seen some concessions they've made. Uh, Gutenkunst, he said that he traded for Randall Cobb from Houston, and that wouldn't have happened had uh, Rodgers not come back. So, like, you're already seeing some roster moves happen. But he also said, I can help. I'm the reason a lot of these guys are coming to play here. I can help recruit. I just need you guys to say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. Let's be on the same page, and then I can help get them here. Whatever I need to do. Like, I want to win. I want to win now. And he even mentioned that Jordan Love, he didn't have a problem with that pick. He loves Jordan Love. He's already reached out to him to throw with him and things like that. It's never been about Jordan Love. It's been about them not being on the same page. So,
Yeah,
and
no
that's
communication.
and that's where me personally, I didn't think this would be resolved by him coming back, but basically, him and Davante Adams are going to do their last dance. They shared the post from
Yeah,
that
the Michael
picture.
Jordan and
Yeah, Michael
Scottie
Jordan, Scottie
Pippen.
Pippen, when they were doing the last dance. They both shared that on their Instagram. So they're looking to run it back one more time. And when you said Davante Adams, it's about respect. He literally said, Rodgers coming back doesn't change anything for me. These guys don't want to pay me like the top wide receiver that I am, and I'm not taking any discounts just to come back. So I think he's probably gone after this season, and then with the way they changed the contract, I'm guessing Rodgers is probably gone after this season as well. So it's going to be interesting, definitely for you Packers fans. We'll see how everything turns out, but looks like it might start sucking after next year.
Well, I can't imagine. I can't possibly imagine this season going well because you have these players who are knocking on the door. They already have decided they want out. They're just not in the situation to leave right now.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it just makes sense that one bad game, even one bad quarter, it's just going to snowball right downhill.
Well, and that's
And
the thing that
I
I don't
guarantee
understand.
that next year is going to be a downfall, major downfall.
Like, they know Devontae's not coming back next year. Um, I don't know why you hold on to him if that's the case, because he's going to walk away next season, and you're not going to have
Yeah,
anything to replace him with, short of trying to get someone out to Green Bay to play with Jordan Love or whoever else they roll out at quarterback. So yeah, I don't think it's going to fall apart unless they let it. But Smith wanting a new contract and then basically doesn't seem like they're even giving him the light of day either. So I I don't know what's going on out there, but it seems like the organization is trying to play hardball with every single player on their roster, and that's not going to attract too many new people out there. So you could be right, but
yeah,
I bet between Devontae and Aaron Rodgers, as long as they keep that core together, I think you guys will be in every game. They're wanting to prove the organization wrong because they both have an out next season, so I think they're going to try to increase their value for any other team that wants to bring them on. So we'll see.
oh yeah. See, I was thinking Devontae would not be trying. He doesn't want to hurt himself for this next season. He
I'm,
wants to get that highest paid.
yeah, I mean, you could definitely. I don't know. I just feel like you can't play to not get hurt because that's like you've heard a lot
Yeah,
of players say that if you're not playing at full speed, you're not protecting yourself. So if you're even thinking about not getting hurt, you're exposing yourself to more risk than if you're just playing like you normally would. So I don't know. It's definitely a strange situation that I would not have seen coming on off of a MVP season by Rodgers, and obviously Devontae's Devontae. He's always a great player. Smith is a great linebacker. I think he's pretty universally respected throughout the league. So I don't know what they're doing out there, but it seems like they're trying to push any talent out the door that they have, and it's very disheartening. So
Yeah, I think Gutenkirst has dug himself into a hole, like right off the bat, and I don't think that it's been a very good. I kind of I blame it on his spending in his first season because he went out and spent all their money, like every last bit to the cap, and now they've been basically in cap trouble, like right on the tip every season since. And
yeah,
now they don't want to pay anybody, and everybody's getting upset. And I think that has a lot to do with what's going on right now. And then they've always been the organization's higher than the players
yep.
kind of mentality. So it's
Which
really biting them in the ass right now.
Kyle and I talked about it a little bit. There is some credence to that, saying like, we have a great organization and that's why we continue to win, and that's definitely true in some regards. But like at the end of the day, all of these great organizations have great quarterbacks, and whether that's
Yeah.
because they're good at scouting, whatever. But like you saw with COVID last year, and then Tom Brady leaving the Patriots, they weren't a good team. Um, a lot of those opt-outs from last year are coming back for this year, so we'll get a better idea of how they'll do without or in the post Tom Brady era, with him being the only main factor missing. But I think you've already seen a lot of guys are not as willing to play there for less money. Starting with Stephon Gilmore, their all-star cornerback. He wants to be paid or he wants to get out, and that's not typically the Patriot way. They've had Tom this whole time taking less pay so they can pay everyone else and pay all the star players that are maybe on their last couple years in the NFL that are wanting to come to win a championship, so they take the lower salaries, and that's not the case right now. So at the end of the day, I feel like there's a nice combination of well-run organization and great players. You can't have
Yeah.
just one or the other, because at the end of the day, you don't have great players, you're not going to win games no matter how well your organization's run. So, and that's
Yeah.
I feel like Gutenkirst is probably going to wake up to that eventually. Um, might even start this year, and he's kind of dug himself in a trench and said, "No, this is my show," and it might be his downfall, but we'll see.
Time will tell.
So I think that's all we had about the Packers. A little bit about the Raiders. We had not a lot going on leading into camp. We had Theo Riddick. He was probably going to be our third running back, and he abruptly retired after he got added to the COVID reserve list. John Gruden sounded like he tried to talk him out of it, but that's going to free up a little bit of money. I would say Jalen Richard is probably safe unless they find an upgrade in free agency. There was a lot of people calling for Adrian Peterson to come to Las Vegas.
Yeah. Old
So,
Oakland.
yeah, it still kills me to say that, but it's fine. Um, so anyway, a lot of people were calling for Adrian Peterson, which 3.5 million is what Jalen Richard is being paid, and they can cut him with no losses, with dead cap space or anything like that. So I'm sure you could bring Adrian Peterson in for 3.5 million, maybe even less, if you cut Richard and then save that money and put it somewhere else. A lot of good things I'm hearing about the defensive side of the football, with new coordinator Gus Bradley. Sounds like the new defensive line is very much improved from last year, which is good to hear because it was probably their weakest spot on the entire roster last year. So good things to hear from there. Sounds like the defense is getting a lot better. The only thing I worry about is the offensive line. It's their push is to get younger and cheaper on the offensive line. So the only real veterans we have on the line right now are Richie Incognito, but he's 38. and
Yeah.
he's
Jeez.
still playing good, but I think he's missed 18 games in the last 2 seasons, so it's kind of hard to rely on someone that's missed basically a season and a or half, yeah, season and a half or so in the last 2 or 3 seasons. So um, I don't know. It's just going to be interesting because John Simpson looks good. I don't know if I'd necessarily stick him in as a starter right away. Um, and then we have Colton Miller on the right side, but everyone else on the team's new. So, or left tackle, sorry. Everyone else on the right side of the line in the center is new. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'll actually be out there to their new stadium in 2 weeks from yesterday, watching
Nice.
their first game in that stadium with fans. So it's going to be exciting. Get to see that new stadium. Hopefully, get to see some starters play. Because last preseason game I went to 2 or 3 years ago, it was literally no starters out on the field at all.
Yeah.
Didn't and it's
That's a bummer.
yeah, it was not good. I mean, it was in LA. It was like the hottest day ever. We had
In history.
yeah, and then we had can't remember if it was Elijah or Cameron was a baby. Anyway, we had one of them with us. He was a baby. He was just super hot, so we had to stand in the walkways in between the bleachers, and so we didn't even really get to see much. It was fun experience to be there, but definitely not what you would want to do at a football game. So anyway, a lot of good things from Raiders camp. Like I said, only unknown offensive line right now and the wide receiving core. So we'll see what happens with that. I hope they bring in Adrian Peterson. He'd be a nice little shot at the
And he
third.
still got it.
Yeah, I mean, if he's your third running back, you got two guys in front of him that are even better. That's a pretty good running back room. So,
Yeah.
I think that's all I had with NFL. So let's jump in, or let's do a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll do NBA and any other things you want to talk about.
Right on.